in the name of flying fuck of hell is wrong with SJWs? What is their problem? We all know what their problems are, we all know what they hate, we all know what they cause. But why? Why do they do it? What is their fucking problem? Well, who better to answer this question, or attempt to answer this question, but me? Before we get into explaining these people, let's go through all the things that offend them. Now, this is obviously not everything. This is only what I was able to think of over the course of 2.5 days written down. I mean, I've gone through many articles over the last couple of years, but I couldn't remember every single one I've seen to go through all the words or things that offend them, but I asked a couple people and of course made my list here, and this is just what I was able to think of. I'm sure there's tons more. But from what I could think of, these are the things that offend SJW, starting off with various words. It is offensive to say man, woman, father, he, she, mother, humankind, mankind, female, male, penis, vagina, period, straight, gender, right-hand man, gentleman, forefather, sportsmanship, native, homosexual, fireman, housewife, waitress, waiter, actor, actress, rape, crazy, gingerbread man, snowman, midget. Here are a couple phrases that they find offensive. They find that the phrase y'all offensive. They find see you later is offensive to blind people, apparently. The most qualified person should get the job is offensive to unskilled people. The disabled is offensive. Everybody can succeed if they work hard is offensive to people who work hard and don't succeed. You guys, man up, like a girl, be a man, Merry Christmas, best friends. White pride, long time no see is offensive to Asians. And calling breastfeeding natural is offensive. Using endearing words like sweetie, babe, love, dear, hun, etc. are also considered sexist and offensive. Cultural appropriation is offensive because it's the concept of wearing clothes or eating food from a different culture that's not yours or just white people. Cognitive privilege is a way to make dumb people feel better about being stupid, saying that people who are smart were just born that way. I have a whole rant on that one. Apu from The Simpsons is offensive to Middle Easterners. It's considered rape to change your baby's diaper. The Christmas design on Starbucks cups is offensive. Man-sized tissues are offensive. It's offensive to hold the door open for women, but it's also sexist if you don't hold the door open. It's considered rape or sexual harassment to approach a woman and say hi, buy her a drink, hold a door open for her, perform CPR because you have to open a person's shirt, or compliment her appearance. It's offensive to use GIFs on social media of black people if you're white because they think it's a form of digital blackface. Some universities banned the use of capital letters and marking mistakes in red pen in assignments because it could scare students into failure. Because apparently the capital letters make the assignments appear too difficult and the red pen looks aggressive. I'm not kidding. Some schools have banned students from buying expensive clothes like Canada Goose jackets because it's poverty shaming. Some universities ban the use of sarcasm because it's considered a form of violence. All forms of comedy that make any jokes about race, racist jokes, offensive jokes, sexist jokes, political jokes, religious jokes, jokes about women, jokes against liberals, or personal jokes about a person, and basically anything that made comedy funny is now banned or frowned upon. Words have changed. Straight was changed to cisgender. Misogyny is now called noir-sogyny if you're being misogynistic to a black woman. Apparently, even the color of your skin changes the word misogyny. And there is many other words that have changed their definition, like gender, for example, that I did not add to this list. But holy fuck. That is just a fraction of what I was able to think of in just 2 days of the things that offend SJWs. And now the big question. Why are they offended by these things? Well, let's try and do this. You may have noticed a lot of the things that they're offended by have to do with other cultures. Let's be honest. I agree with white racism going up like crazy, but let's be honest and let's be real. Most SJWs are, in fact, white people. And I'll try to explain that a little bit. But before we get into that, yes, most SJWs really are white people. And they are often offended by things in other cultures. Anything about a black person, anything about a Middle Eastern person like Apu from The Simpsons, any cultural appropriation is all about white people doing things from other cultures. And it makes you wonder, why are SJWs so stuck on things about people from other cultures? Well, because they think those people are oppressed and can't stand up for themselves, which, by the way, is racist. But let's move on. They believe that it's their goal to defend anybody who is not white, even though they can easily just defend themselves if they feel they need to be. But also, if you actually go up to a Middle Eastern person and say, hey, do you think Apu is offensive? Or if you go up to a Mexican person and say, hey, do you find it racist if a white person eats a taco? Or if you go up to a black person and say, do you think it's offensive if a white person says yo or has dreadlocks? Chances are that for the most part, they're gonna say no. It's because all of the things that are from other cultures, if they really are oppressed or were oppressed, they understand what's actually important. All the white people who are trying to white knight these people, they don't understand that all these things are not offensive and are not a big deal. These people, all these stupid kids who go to university and have no concept of the real world, they don't know what's truly offensive because they never learned it. They never experienced it themselves. They're told that these things are offensive. They're taught them in gender studies class, but they never experience it and they're never actually shown it. Big difference between being taught and being shown. They simply don't know what's offensive, so they just go on what they were told was offensive. It's offensive to say you're a specific gender, but meanwhile, if they went to a third world country where actual racist or sexist things happen, how about in countries like Saudi Arabia where rape is not even a crime? SJWs don't focus on that kind of stuff. SJWs don't focus on actual things that are sexist or racist or are oppressive. In the third world, women actually are oppressed. So why are SJWs so focused on the oppression in the first world? Because they don't know any better. They are there trying to white knight people, like saying, oh, white people, you're not allowed to eat turkey because that's racist. But if you actually talk to a native Indian, they don't give a shit if you eat turkey. But white people, white SJWs, are trying to white knight their way in and saying you can't eat turkey because it's offensive to them. It's not up to you. Most of them don't actually care. They say, okay, you want turkey, eat some fucking turkey, what the fuck? But why do SJWs feel the need to white knight? Because they are racist and think that they can't stand up for themselves or speak their own voice, but they can. So what is their problem? Well, in summary, they don't understand the real world. That's what their problem is. They have no concept. They went from high school, most of them, straight into university and then straight into a gender studies class. These classes have brainwashed them into believing that racism and sexism are around every corner. They're being told that gender is your choice. They're being told that racism is natural. They're being told all these crazy things, and it makes them go crazy and fight for things that they should not be fighting for. Their extreme inexperience into any life skills, work, or knowing a lot of people, or actually experiencing other cultures to see how they really interact, whether instead of just being lied to by a university and saying black people were oppressed hundreds of years ago, but they still are, so can you go fight for them? That's their problem. Their problem is extreme lack of life skill. When you go from high school straight to university and then straight to a class that's going to lie to you and say women are oppressed in the first world, all white people are racist, all white people deserve to die, gender is a choice, racism is natural, and all these other insane things, they don't have the ability or the mental capacity to go out into the real world and learn these things for themselves. That's why. The main problem with these people is that even though they're in university and are about 20 years old, whatever, they're kids. They are kids. That's the issue. They never had any hardships in their life. They talk about all these things that other races experience, but they never experienced it and therefore don't truly understand it. They're like children. I mean that literally. They may be 20, but they have the mindset of a 6-year-old. People who are close to 30 in university have the same type of mentality. They're still children who have not learned yet. They're like little babies who are banging for a bottle, for their little milk in a bottle. Think about the kind of things they find offensive. We're not just talking about racist or sexist stuff here. In my list, I found that they even find it offensive or aggressive to mark an assignment with red pen. They find it offensive or aggressive to use capital letters. They need, if any of these things happen to them while they're in fucking university, they run off to their safe space. They can't listen to other people's opinions. They can't be involved in debates because other people are talking that disagree with them. What's interesting is that I bet when these same university kids were in elementary school and their teacher would mark things with a red pen, they weren't scared of it. But now that they're in university, now a red pen scares them. Now capital letters scares them. Now the real world, debates, conversations, the First Amendment, all of these things now scare them. But when they were in elementary school and they were only like 8 years old and their teacher said, "You're wrong about a certain question, I'm going to put a red X over what you wrote down in your assignment," they just took the criticism and fixed their mistake. But now it's actually considered aggressive to do that. Why have these people, since they got older, have become more sensitive? Why have they become bigger crybabies and more easily offended and more scared as they got older? Because it's one thing to say, okay, I'm a university student, I'm a dumbass, I get offended easily. But the things that they're offended by, they wouldn't have been offended by when they were in elementary school. Something happened to them when they got to university. Milo Yiannopoulos said it best, that kids are actually coming out of university dumber than when they went in. It's true. It makes me wonder, it's not just that universities are teaching things that are wrong, like about feminism or racism or gender, but that these universities are actually taking up any toughness they developed by elementary school or their parents, and have gone so easy on them, they've actually decreased in their ability to grow. I don't believe for a second that people who are offended by red pen were offended back in elementary school. Nobody picked up their assignment that was marked by their teacher and found it to be offensive. They just looked at their paper, saw their mistakes, and moved on. But now it's considered offensive, and it's because the university told them it was. The universities are actually desensitizing these kids and regressing them. They're not getting better or staying the same. They're regressing. When I was going through my list of things that are offensive to these idiots, I didn't go through the holidays because I wanted to mention that now. Because the holidays also helps emphasize how they were not offended as kids, but as they got older, they were. For example, they find Christmas offensive. They find Thanksgiving offensive because it's offensive to Native Americans eat turkey. They find Valentine's Day offensive to single people. They find Remembrance Day, Father's Day, Mother's Day. They find every holiday offensive. But the thing is, though, when they were kids, they were not offended by Christmas. I'm sure when all these dumbasses were like 10, they could come down on Christmas morning and open gifts. But now that they're in university, they're offended. What happened to these people? What is university doing to these kids to make them regress into youth as they age older? It's scary, is what it really is. For the most part, that's what their problem is. Going to university has somehow made them dumber, has made them more sensitive, has made them need safe spaces more than ever. I don't think they needed a safe space in elementary school, but now that they're in university, they need a fucking safe space because somebody said the word fuck. University is making these kids regress. It's making them turn back into kids. It's making them more sensitive than where they were, and the parents are not doing their job. That's what SJW's problems are. Not having correct parental guidance, not growing up understanding the real world, going to university and learning about all the things that they've banned and teach in gender studies classes. They have no concept of life or the real world or how to interact with people, and it seems like a university makes this even worse for them. So, as far as I can tell you, that's what their problem is. An extreme lack of life skills and life experience, and being somehow regressed in university. They're literally children. That's why if they don't get their way, they literally scream and cry. Just like a baby or a little child that asked for a cookie and didn't get it. They are literally kids. Babies needed a safe space. Their safe space was their mother. But now university students need a literal safe space.